The Dayspring from on high hath visited us, to give light unto them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. Dayspring is an effort to be in touch with good people who love God and who believe that the Bible is His Word. Dayspring is brought to you by your neighbors from Churches of Christ in this area. And now, visit with us as we draw near to God.
We're so glad you've chosen to spend a few minutes with us today. I'm delighted to know that good people like you love the Bible. It is such a wonderful thing to have that in common. I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit with you in the quietness of the day and talk about God's book. Today we think together about some Bible questions. The Bible is full of questions, but in a particular way, specifically. Think with me today about some of the Bible questions that are about man, mankind, human beings such as you and I. The Bible asks a number of questions about the nature of man. That's the best way to put it. The nature of man. I'm reading from the 8th Psalm. O Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth, who hath set thy glory above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. When I consider the heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained. Listen, what is man, that thou art mindful of him? Or the Son of Man, that thou visitest him? What is man? There's a Bible question about you and me. What are we? There's the Bible question, and we stay with the Bible to find some answer to that. What is man? Genesis 1 and verse 27 says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. There's partial explanation of what man is. Man is a created being. God created us. And He created us in His own image so that we could have a relationship with Him, so that we could be friends with God, and so that we could have communion with Him and be in fellowship with Him. In addition, in Genesis 2 and verse 7, the Bible says, the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. The breath of life came from God. He breathed it into man. Otherwise, man is made of dirt. God formed man of the dust of the earth. When a fellow gets too big for his own britches, we say, when he thinks much more highly of himself than he ought to think, he should remember that he, along with all the rest of us, are made of the same material. Not gold, not silver, not some precious fabric, but the Lord formed us from the dust of the ground. We're all made out of dirt. Physically speaking, we're all on common ground. I don't have anything to brag about, and you don't have anything to brag about. We're all made of dust. Job chapter 14, verse 1. Man that is born of woman is of a few days and very full of trouble. He cometh forth as a flower and is cut down. He flees as a shadow and continues not. What is man? Well, man is only temporarily on this earth. We're born to die. And while we live here in this body, Job said we're full of trouble. We have problems that are all associated with living here in the flesh. That's what man is. We live, our body, our spirit lives in a temple of clay. And at death, our spirit shall be released from this temple of clay. Galatians 6 and verse 5, Paul made this interesting observation about human beings. He said, every man shall bear his own burden. We're responsible creatures. Everybody will bear his own burden. That is, all accountable beings will be responsible for their deeds and their actions, because that's who we are. At the same time, Paul wrote to the Romans and said, we're all sinners. Every man sins. Romans 3 and verse 23, all have sinned and come short of God's glory. So, you look at me, and what you see before you is a sinner. I am a sinner. I have sinned, and from day to day I'm still susceptible to temptation, and I sin. I am a sinner. We must be brought to that realization. We're sinners, and we each shall bear our own burden. That's who man is. But what a wonderful thought it is. Thanks for this thought. Man is also the subject of God's grace and mercy. Hebrews 2, verse 9, we see Jesus made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he by the grace of God might taste death for every man. It became him, for whom are all things and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons to glory, to make the captain of our salvation perfect through suffering. I am the object of God's mercy. God, in love, looked at the human family and said, I will be merciful to them. I will love them, and I will pour out my grace upon them. Paul wrote to Titus in chapter 2, verse 11 of that book that bears the name of Titus, the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. The grace of God has been made known to everybody. Human beings are the object of his love, of his mercy, of his goodness, of his grace. That's who man is, created in God's image, made of the dust of the earth, just temporarily on this earth. His body will die. We're all responsible for our own actions. We'll all bear our own burden. and we're all sinners. All accountable people sin and come short of the glory of God. But oh, how thankful we are that human beings are also the subject of God's mercy and grace and love. Well, there's a question. Psalm chapter 8, what is man, that thou art mindful of him? And the Son of Man, what are we? In Proverbs 24 and verse 20, another question, a question about man. In that verse, Solomon asked a question: how can a man understand his own way? Well, that's an interesting question, is it not? About you and I, Solomon asked, as if to imply an answer. How can we understand our own way? Well, Jeremiah 10 and verse 23, here's what Jeremiah said about it. Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walks to direct his own steps. So when Solomon asked, how can we direct our own way? Jeremiah said we can't. Proverbs 14 and verse 12, the Bible says there is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. I'm going to guide myself. I'm going to choose my own way. And Solomon says the end of that is the way of death. In other words, like Jeremiah said, the way of man is not in himself. He cannot direct his steps. Matthew chapter 9 and verse 36. The Bible says, when Jesus saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. That's what Jesus saw when he looked at us. Scattered. No shepherd to guide us. Cannot find our way. That's true of the human family. They be blind leaders of the blind. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. That pretty much sums it up, my friend. When we ask questions, Solomon's question is, how can a man understand his way? And the answer is not. You can't. For that reason, 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 7 says, we walk by faith and not by sight. Faith means that we place our confidence in God. And we depend on God to show us the way, to lead us. He's the only one that knows. He sent Jesus to earth to be an example for us. Out of his great love and mercy for us, God sent his Son so that we could have a way. I am the way, the truth, and the life, is what Jesus said. And for that reason, we place our confidence in the Lord. And we let him direct us and lead us. We know that we can't go wrong by doing that. Proverbs chapter 3, Solomon again, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. Acknowledge God as the leader, the director, and he will guide us in the paths that we should go. So when Solomon asked the question, how can a man understand his own way? The answer to that is he can't. But he can depend on God. God who made us, he knows the way we should take. Here's another question the Bible asks about human beings like you and me. Job asked the question in Job 14 and verse 14, if a man die, shall he live again? Well, the first part of that question, Job did not need to ask, because we die. It's appointed unto man once to die. Hebrews 9 and verse 27, after this the judgment. We will all die unless the Lord comes back first. Death is certain. We're mortal. Physically, our bodies will wear out, and they will cease to live on this earth. The time will come when my heart will stop, and my lungs will stop, and all of my bodily functions will cease, and I will be dead. The spirit shall leave my body. And James said, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without work is dead also. But there's Job's question. If a man die, will he live again? It's an interesting question. Now, John chapter 5 at verse 28. The hour is coming in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice and come forth. Well, that pretty well settles that question, doesn't it? Job asked, will a man live again after he dies? And Jesus now says, the hour is coming in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice and come forth. Paul once said in 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 13, I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning them that are asleep. If we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. This we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them that are asleep. The Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God. The dead in Christ shall rise first, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words, and they are words of comfort. They answer Job's question. If a man dies, will he live again? Jesus said yes. Paul said yes, over and over again in our Bible, especially in the New Testament. Christ is the first fruits of them that slept. As in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. That's in 1 Corinthians 15. In Christ we shall all be made alive. Everybody shall be called back from his place in the heart of the earth. His body will be restored, and he will be given a new body, one that is suited to live forever in a place called heaven. That is, if provided we have followed the Lord's instruction and depended on his mercy. So there's Job's question. If a man dies, shall he live again? Now, here's another question. Job, one of Job's friends, one of those supposed friends of Job who came to comfort him, he asked this question. Job 25 and verse 4. How shall a man be justified with God? That's a good question, isn't it? How shall a man be justified with God? Well, here's what Solomon said about it. In Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 20, Solomon said, "There's not a just man on the face of the earth that does good and sins not." Nobody's just. What does it mean to be just? It means to be declared innocent. I'm accused of something. I am brought into court. I defend myself before the judge. I have indisputable evidence that I could not have possibly committed that crime. And so the judge says the case is dismissed and this man is just. He's innocent. But the question is, how can a man be just before God? And the answer to that is, we can't. Because every one of us who's accountable is guilty. I go before God not to plead my innocence because I'm not innocent. In His eyes, I'm guilty. Guilt is charged. Christ also once suffered for sin, the just for the unjust, that He might bring us to God. 1 Peter 3, verse 18. Christ was altogether innocent. But you and I are not altogether innocent. We're guilty. We're all guilty of sin. But Christ is going to bring us to God anyway, even though we are guilty. Romans 5 and verse 1 says, "Or being justified by faith, we have peace with God." To be justified means to be declared innocent, not charged. Somehow God finds it within Himself, upon His conditions, to erase our record, no matter what's there. No matter how many sins we've committed and how ugly those sins may have been, God has found a way to erase all of our record and make us clean and pure. Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only, is what James 2 and verse 24 says. Now, good friend, I do not have a hope in the world to come before God on the last day and plead my innocence, because I'm not an innocent man. You cannot do that either. Perhaps millions who died in infancy before they became old enough to know right from wrong, perhaps those people will not even be brought into judgment because they're innocent. But listen to this. In the book of Romans, chapter 4 and verse 6, even as David also describeth the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputes righteousness without works. Impute righteousness, that is, account this man innocent. Cometh this blessedness upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. Well, there it is. God can reckon a man righteous when in fact he is not righteous. The Bible says that God imputed righteousness to us, even as David also describes the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputes righteousness without works, saying, Blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. That's good news. I love that passage. I'm a sinner. I'm guilty. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. What's the secret of that? Forgiveness. God has provided a way for me to be forgiven. My record that has black marks all over it, my record can be made clean through the blood of Christ. Almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without the shedding of blood is no remission. That's what Hebrews 10 says. So, good friend, how can a man be justified with God? He's guilty. Obviously, he cannot plead his innocence. But God's mercy and his love is extended to us by providing us with a way to be saved from our sins, with a way for them to be blotted out. Arise and be baptized and wash away thy sin, calling on the name of the Lord. Sin washed away. I stand before my Lord in judgment as an innocent man, not because I've never done anything wrong, but because God justified me by forgiving my sins. You and I need to be very energetic in seeking out God's plan of salvation. We want to follow his instructions because his love has made it possible for us to be forgiven. Well, thank you for letting us entertain these questions about man. Thank you for being with us. Until the next time, may the goodness of God be yours in full measure.
You've been watching Dayspring. Dayspring is brought to you by your friends in local area churches of Christ. To request a free CD of today's lesson, you may contact us at Dayspring, Post Office Box 453, Tupelo, Mississippi, 38802, 0453. There is no cost for this offer. You will not be asked for financial support. You can also phone your request toll-free at 1-866-842-4139. Or you can go to our website at dayspringtv.com. Thank you for visiting with us on Dayspring. May your joy be full. May the peace of God rule in your hearts. And may the light of Christ brighten heaven's way.